One. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, California. Welcome, commissioners, CDE staff, Board of Education liaisons, and members of the public watching remotely. My name is Jose Nunez, and I am the chair of the Instructional Quality Commission. I now call to order our Instructional Quality Commission meeting for Wednesday, May 13th, 2020. With the COVID-19 pandemic, we're facing unprecedented times, as you well know. The IQC meeting logistics today will follow Governor Gavin Newsom's March 17, 2020 executive order in 2920, which allows state bodies subject to the Bagley-Keene Open Meeting Act to hold public meetings via web conferencing and audio conferencing. In compliance with California's statewide stay-at-home order, today's IQC meeting is a video conference meeting with a live webcast. Although we're sheltering in place, this is a public meeting, and members of the public have multiple ways to view this meeting and to give public comment. Please bear with me for a few minutes as I explain the multiple ways members of the public may participate in today's meeting. Members of the public who have internet access and want to access the live meeting webcast can visit https://www.cde.ca.gov/be/PN/LV/index.asap. If you have internet access and want to give public comment, you can access our meeting using Zoom at https://video.zoom.us/j/9614257478. The password is 181577. 181577. If you're going to use this option, please log in using your full name, first and last. Please note that if you use the Zoom option, we cannot respond to comments and questions submitted through the Q&A feature in Zoom. Comments submitted through the Q&A, question and answer feature in Zoom, will be distributed to the commission after the meeting has concluded. Instead, within Zoom, if you want to comment, use the hand raise button to indicate that you want to give public comment. CDE staff will call out the names in the order signed up and then unmute and remute your microphone after you provide public comment. When giving public comment, please remember to state the following. 1, your first and last name, your organization affiliation, if any, and then your public comment. You can also use email through the internet to provide comment. Members of the public who are watching the live meeting webcast can submit their comment to the IQC mailbox that is iqc@cde.ca.gov. If you choose this email option, include the following in your email: the agenda item, your first and last name, organization affiliation, if any, and then your public comment. Please keep in mind that the CDE staff will read your public comment because you are submitting it via email. But also remember that it is limited to 2 minutes. So if you write something that will take longer than 2 minutes, please know that it may not be read in its entirety. On the other hand, if you do not have internet access but want to listen or provide comment, you may do so via telephone by dialing the following numbers: 1-669-900-6833 or 1-408 area code 638-0968 or 1-646-876-9923. If you use this option, you will be prompted to enter a meeting ID number, which is 961-4257-4748. The password then is 181577. 181577. You will then be prompted, if you want to submit a comment as opposed to just listening. If you want to submit a comment using this feature, you will have to press the asterisk or stars you see on the screen, then 9. After pressing asterisk or star 9, you will be placed in a queue. When it's your turn, CDE staff will call out the last 4 digits of a phone number, unmute you, and then remute your phone line. When giving public comment, state the following: your first and last name, organization affiliation, if any, followed by your public comment. As I indicated before with the email option, comments will be subject to a 2-minute time limit, so please be cognizant of that. We will not be able to read or have you say your comment if it goes beyond 2 minutes. If you missed any of these details, because there were quite a bit of details, as you know, all of these options are outlined on the May 13th, today, May 13th, 2020 IQC agenda, which is posted at the IQC website at https://cde.ca.gov/cc/CD/IQC May 2020 agenda.asp. As you know, the format of today's meeting doesn't lend itself to the fluidity that we're used to when we're meeting in person. So with this in mind, I want to review a few important protocols before I introduce commissioners and confirm attendance. 1, please mute your microphone at all times except when speaking. This is important, as you know, as the microphone will pick up any noise. 2, please do not comment or ask a question without being called upon for the reason that I just stated. Obviously, this is important for the orderly flow of the meeting. 3, when you want to comment or ask a question, please use the raised hand icon feature and we will be sure to call on you. I may not get to you right away, but we will certainly get to you. Of course, there's going to be occasions, as you know, based on our last meeting, where if we call or someone calls on you specifically by name, there's no need to raise the hand icon. 4, all votes are going to be done by roll call. This is important for the virtual meeting format. And then the last one, before each agenda item, I will announce that there is a public comment period, so that if any members of the public want to comment, I will certainly let you know or cue you. I will now introduce our commissioners, CDE staff, and state board liaisons participating in today's meeting. When I call your name, please unmute your microphone and confirm your attendance. And then obviously try as best as possible, but I know we all forget, to remute your microphone. So I will now begin roll call. Vice Chair Yolanda Munoz. If you're listening, I know you're here, Vice Chair Yolanda Munoz, but your mic might be muted. Are you here? Okay, I'm going to come back to you because I know that you are here. Commissioner Cristina Andre.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Mariana Astorga Almanza.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Christine Chapman.
Here.
Commissioner Deborah Costa Hernandez.
Here.
Commissioner Shay Fairchild.
Present.
Commissioner Lindsay Gotanda.
Here.
Commissioner Lily Jarvis.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Melanie Murphy Corwin.
Present.
Thank you. Commissioner David Pantai. Commissioner David Pantai. Okay, there's 2 commissioners that I will come back to. I think we're having a few technical issues. Commissioner Alma Delia Renteria.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Manuel Rustin.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Julie Tonkovich.
Here.
Thank you. Commissioner Pam Williamson.
Here.
Assembly Member Shirley Weber.
Here.
Thank you. Senator Ben Allen.
Here.
Thank you. Before I ask the state board members and the CDE staff to introduce themselves, I want to come back to 2 commissioners just to make sure, give them a chance to say that they're present. First, Vice Chair Yolanda Munoz. Vice Chair Yolanda Munoz. Okay. I believe she's here at this point, Executive Director Coates. What would you like to do? We know that she's here, but she might be having technical issues.
Yes,
so,
our TSD is working on connecting with her now.
Not a problem. Now let me try one last commissioner here who I believe has the same issue, and that would be Commissioner David Pantai. Are you? I see your name here. Okay. So same thing, Executive Director Coates. I'm just going to move forward. I believe he's here, but I believe there are technical issues.
Thank you. We're working on it.
No problem. Okay, so now I will introduce our state board members, our liaisons. State board member Patricia Rucker.
Here.
Thank you. State board member Eileen Strauss.
Here.
Thank you. Our executive director Shanine Coates is present at this California Department of Education. Executive Director Coates, please confirm your attendance and state who is also present at the CDE, please.
Thank you. Including myself, we have Constantino Silva, Cliff Rudnick, Jonathan Lee, Denise Figueroa, and Susan Sweeney present. In addition, participating on the Zoom video conference are Seaford staff Kyle Petty and Aaron Jacks.
Thank you. Our next agenda item is item 1B, the salute to the flag. Executive Director Coates, would you mind please leading us in the salute to the flag?
America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. So our next agenda item is 1C, an overview of today's agenda. We will review the draft World Languages Instructional Materials Adoption Content Standards Map and Evaluation Criteria Map and recommend final edits to the State Board of Education. Also on today's agenda, we will review the Arts Instructional Materials Adoption Content Standards Map and Evaluation Criteria Map and recommend final edits to the State Board of Education. Finally, we will hear an update on the schedule of significant events for the 2021 revision of the mathematics framework for California Public Schools kindergarten through grade 12. Before each agenda item comment period, I will ask if any members of the public want to provide comment. Without reviewing every detail that I explained earlier, members of the public may provide public comment via Zoom, email, or telephone. Once again, I said it before, but if you missed any of these details, members of the public, and you want to participate, please remember that everything is outlined on today's agenda, IQC agenda that is, on our website. I'm just going to read that website to you one more time. That is https://www.cde.gov/cc/cd/IQC May 2020 agenda.asp. Our next item is item 1D, which is approval of our last meeting minutes. That would be for April 17th, 2020. At this time, if any member of the public wants to provide public comment on this item, please do so now by following the procedures described earlier or displayed on the screen. I'm not sure if they're displayed on the screen, but please follow the procedures that were described earlier. Commissioners, you have the minutes of the April 17th, 2020 IQC meeting before you. If you have substantive changes, please present them now. If there are minor changes not affecting the content, please email them to Denise Figueroa, our IQC liaison. Does anyone have any questions or comments regarding our minutes from the last meeting? And give me a second because I'm looking for the raised hand icon. See none. I believe that we're ready to make a motion. I need a motion to approve the minutes. And once again, I'm looking for raised hands. Okay, I see two hands up. So I'm going to begin with Commissioner Deborah Costa Hernandez.
I move to approve the minutes.
Thank you. The motion has been made by Commissioner Costa Hernandez. Is there a second to the motion? Commissioner Munoz?
I second.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. Is there any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Munoz, your hand. Thank you. Your hand is now down. I see no hands. Okay. No comments. Is there any public comment on the motion?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. I believe we are ready to vote. Denise, if you would not mind, please conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Iniguez,
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz,
Yes.
Commissioner Andre,
Yes.
Commissioner Storgal Mansa,
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman,
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez,
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild,
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda,
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis,
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy Corwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Renteria,
Yes.
Commissioner Reston,
Yes.
Commissioner Tonkovich,
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson,
Yes.
Assemblymember Weber.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Wait, what about Senator
Oh,
Allen?
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Senator Allen, I didn't see you. I'm so sorry. Senator Allen,
Yes.
the motion passes.
Thank you. We did not forget about you, Senator Allen. So our next agenda item is 1E, the report of the chair. Given our current COVID-19 crisis, as we all know, there haven't been many meetings for any of us to attend and report on. However, I'd be remiss if I didn't remind everyone last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. Everyone in this meeting knows that you don't go into teaching and make a lot of money. People become teachers and make a difference in this world. Often, though, teachers are so busy, they often miss out on chances to stop, reflect on the impact they make in the lives of young people. This is especially true, as you well know, right now during our shelter-in-place situation, where brief conversations, the friendly smile, brief compliment means so much to young people. And while we might forget by the time it comes to grading assignments or planning the next virtual lesson, these words remain or can remain with a young person for a very long time, shaping their personality and thoughts. So thank you very much to all teachers for everything that you do. Next item is item 1F, our Executive Director's Report.
Thank you, Chair Iniguez. Welcome, everyone, to the May 13th, 2020 IQC meeting. This is our second virtual meeting due to the COVID-19 response. As Chair Iniguez stated, last week was Teacher Appreciation Week. I am certainly thankful for all of the teachers in my life personally who have made a difference and really changed my life trajectory. I'm also thankful for the teachers of my 3 daughters who are in elementary school right now. So thank you. Thank you to all of you who are taking the time here, and we very much appreciate your service. In honor of our educators, the superintendent and the Curriculum Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division hosted the department's first educator support circle last week. It included a diverse group of educators, including education support personnel, willing to share their challenges, their successes, and their needs around distance learning and the COVID-19 response. And also, the specific purpose was to discuss teacher wellness. We often talk about student wellness, but teacher wellness is just as important. And so the video, if you missed it, is archived on Facebook Online, along with those wellness resources for anyone that would like to view them. They will also be available on CDE's website. The department continues its partnerships to support distance learning, including assisting with the development of guidance related to learning acceleration for student achievement and success. Some may have been used to this being called learning loss, but we are still looking to frame it in a way that takes into account the assets of our students. And so this is in addition to the Learning Loss Ad Hoc Committee that the superintendent has convened on this topic. We are working with our partners to develop guidance on the physical reopening of schools, We are also continuing to provide a variety of webinars, averaging about 3 per week on a variety of topics related to distance learning and safety, wellness, etc. And we are also working with partners to close the digital divide. So please continue to check our webpage for updates regarding our collective efforts. There have been some milestones from our collective work, including the work of the IQC and the State Board. Last week, the State Board of Education approved the revised Arts and World Languages Framework's schedule of significant events, so that in July, both of those brand new frameworks will be recommended to the State Board for adoption. So typically, the IQC chair and subject matter chairs co-present the State Board item for framework adoptions with the executive director. So I will be reaching out to Chair Iniguez, Commissioner Renteria, and Commissioner Tonkovich to coordinate to that end. Also, the State Board of Education approved the revised mathematics framework schedule of significant events, and more details will be discussed on item 4B today. I will now turn it back over to Chair Iniguez. Thank you.
Thank you for those very important updates. Our next agenda item is 1G, report from our State Board liaisons. Joining us today, as I said earlier, are Patricia Rucker and Eileen Strauss to give a report on the activities of the State Board. I now recognize our State Board liaisons.
So this is Eileen Strauss. I'm the Vice President of the State Board. I'll give you a summary of some of the key ideas and then ask Member Rucker to elaborate. We had quite a discussion. So we also had a remote meeting, was our first remote meeting last week. And most of our items last week were in response to the pandemic. So I will give you a highlight on ESSA, Every Student Succeeds Act. The CDE and requested, Department of Ed granted us a waiver for the ESSA assessment and accountability requirements and gave us additional flexibility for specified federal funding. So we ratified these waivers. So I just would say the board members felt how important the flexibilities were in this unprecedented time, but also a commitment on the part of our board to accountability, particularly as it relates to the state's underserved populations. On assessment accountability waiver, just a couple of things. It does identify schools for comprehensive support and improvement and also additional target improvement. And so the waiver followed Governor Newsom's March 18th executive order. And so, while it waived the federal requirements, it didn't waive the state requirements. So the State Board and CD are working with the legislature on possible modifications of our state requirements for our dashboard and identifying LEAs for differentiated assistance. The waiver on the funding flexibility gave us the opportunity to waive no more than once every 3 years, a 15% carryover in Title I Part A funds, and allows funding to be used through September 2021. And it also allowed Title IV Part A funds to use to best meet students' needs. So this funding flexibility is actually really helpful with all the things that are going on right now. The dashboard we talked about, as you know, we have no assessment data, but we are still required to report on our dashboard student discipline, absence, the 4-year adjusted cohort graduation rate, and the 1-year graduation rate. So we'll be publishing that, but the 2021 dashboard will be based on data from because we don't have any data from the 1920 years. So you all know we're going to skip 1 year to deal with the change in status. We also talked about college and career. That's one that we've been looking at for additional items to include to measure college and career. So we dealt with workforce readiness and food handler and pre-apprenticeship issues we talked about. We also talked about issues with students with IEPs and what we could put to look at workability courses and work-based courses for students with IEPs. So you'll hear some more on that coming up We are collecting new measures on internships and work-based service. We did work on the English Learner Progress Indicator, and we're going to be looking at the validity of the LP status over 3 years. And so the other thing we talked about was, we have the 5x5 grids on status and change, and we're trying to make sure that those measures are stable and not fluctuate a huge amount based on a really small number of students. So we're running some extra group on subgroup data, and we're going to have more information on that coming up because we want our indicators to be stable and reliable. And then also there'll be some more information coming on our student growth measure as well. I asked Member Rucker maybe to add some specifics with some of those areas that we did talk about. Thank you.
Commissioner Rucker, your mic, you're muted. Board Member Rucker, your mic is muted.
Good morning, commissioners. First of all, I want to thank all of you for being here and thank Commissioner Enriquez for his work as the chair. As he did say last week was Teacher Appreciation Week, and I'm sitting here in front of a panel of very distinguished and accomplished educators, so you need to know that I personally appreciate, respect, and admire the work that you do, the work that you're continuing to do right now, and how you have stepped up to support your students. I especially want to give a call out today to Commissioner Murphy-Corwin because this is going to be her last day. And I want to make sure that I have a chance to personally tell you how much I admire the work that you've done and the fact that you've chosen to take on this work at this stage in your career to do this work and to do this advocacy. You've been a role model and such a strong leader for all of us on this panel. So I'm sad to see you go, but at the same time, I so much appreciate the impact that you have had on this panel and on the work that we've worked to do on the IQC. So I look forward to hearing more about what you do as you move on in the future and into your additional new endeavors. And I never had a chance to meet your grandchildren, but one of these days, that could happen, and I hope we get a chance to do that. From the last IQC meeting that you all had, and it was a virtual meeting, you conducted a lot of business that you passed on to the board. One of the most important things that the board did was approve the recommendations you made concerning the revision of the schedule of significant events for the mathematics framework. Because the Mathematics Framework Committee is in the midst right now of developing the framework, it was significant that these changes had to be made primarily to accommodate the need and the urgent concern of the participating members on continuing the work to meet together to craft and develop and provide the input that's needed to improve and revise this framework. In addition, there were other frameworks that you also made some recommendations to the board to. The board took action to also approve your recommendation for the revision of the schedule of significant events for the World Languages Framework, as well as approving the revision of the schedule of significant events for the 2020 Arts Education Framework. And finally, I do want to inform you that we did take action to approve the cancellation of the 2020 California Health Instructional Materials adoption. Interestingly enough, there were a number of stakeholders who did call in to express their concern about the opportunity that was missed to provide material. I do want to remind everyone and take this opportunity to say that even though the state did not formally craft an adoption or recommend instructional materials, this framework is rich with recommended resources and content to provide and support instruction and the implementation of the health framework and to support health instruction, especially in a lot of the new added content that was provided and developed in the adopted framework. And at some point in time, it doesn't mean that later on additional materials may not be recommended or could not be recommended by the state, but it creates the opportunity for local districts and local communities to continue their conversation about the implementation for the instruction in this framework. As Board Member Strauss did point out, we spent a lot of time at the board meeting last week going through and discussing a lot of information concerning the impact of COVID-19 on our accountability program and the continuing work going forward on the accountability system. And so that work is going to continue not only both with the advisory stakeholder groups. There's an advisory stakeholder group that's going to be looking at the student growth model. There is going to be further discussion with stakeholders concerning the development of the 5x5 color grid. And there's going to be continuing conversation with stakeholders concerning the development of the accountability of what's reported for the progress of English learner. We heard a lot of comment and received a lot of information from stakeholders in our red folder in the correspondence from stakeholders concerning these particular issues. So the department staff, I must congratulate them for their efforts and the continuing initiative to reach out to the stakeholder community and to have their work informed by the concerns that are raised. We are definitely much better by paying attention to the different perspectives and the multiple ways and approaches that have been suggested for carrying on this work and for making the revisions, particularly for the college and career indicator, as well as for the work being done on the English learner indicator. Thank you very much for this opportunity to report, Chair Iniguez, and I'll turn the floor back over to you.
Thank you, Board Member Rucker and Strauss, but actually the thank you should be for you and the State Board of Education. That work that you are doing right now in particular, but at all times, is critical. And thank you for these very, very important updates. So moving on to the next agenda item with a heavy heart, as Board Member Rucker just stated. It's with a heavy heart because of one of our commissioners is going to term out today. We're going to address that at the very end. So please, commissioners, don't think that you will not have a chance. You will have a chance at the very end of this meeting to say our goodbyes. And it's a heavy heart, but business must go on. So our next agenda item is number 2, the World Languages Subject Matter Committee. At this time, if any member of the public wants to provide public comment on this item, please do so now by following the procedures that I explained earlier and that were displayed on the screen. For this agenda item, I now recognize World Language Subject Matter Committee Chair Renteria.
Thank you so much, Commissioner Iniguez. The members, I call to order the World Languages SMC. Okay. The members of the World Languages SMC are SMC Chair myself, SMC Vice Chair Jarvis, Commissioners Hernandez, Gotanda, Munoz, Pantai, and Williamson. Note that CIFRD staff to the World Languages SMC are Cliff Ritnick, who's the administrator, and Aaron Jacks, who's a consultant. The first item that requires our action is the recommendation of the evaluation criteria and standards maps for the 2021 World Languages adoption. The standards maps take the content standards for world languages adopted by the California State Board of Education and organizes them into a series of tables for convenient use by publishers as well as instructional materials reviewers and content review experts during their review. The maps were sent to you all digitally and were available to the public upon request by emailing the IQC mailbox. The evaluation criteria that will be used by the IMRs and CREs are taken from Chapter 13 of the 2020 World Languages Framework. There are 4 standards maps, 1 evaluation criteria map, and a set of publisher instructions. Publishers will complete 1 evaluation criteria map for each program. Publishers will complete the standards maps appropriate for the proficiency levels of the programs they're submitting for review. The reviewers then use these completed maps when performing their independent evaluation of the submitted materials. I will now ask Aaron Jacks, Education Programs Assistant, to provide an overview of the structure and organization of the World Languages Standards Map.
Hi, everyone. So if you've previously participated as a facilitator of a panel, you will notice that these standards map differ from the standards maps for other subject areas. Whereas most content areas organize the content standards by grade level or by grade band, The world languages standards are divided into 4 proficiency levels: novice, intermediate, advanced, and superior. For each proficiency level, there are standards in 3 domains: communication, cultures, and connections. Due to the nature of language instruction, dividing the standards by proficiency level instead of grade level acknowledges that students can begin foreign language instruction at different grade levels, or that they may begin formal instruction at any proficiency level depending on a variety of factors. Proficiency-based standards also allow for language programs that are not grade level specific. For example, a novice level course at a middle school might be divided into 2 year-long courses, while a high school novice course might include freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. One challenge that we encountered in creating these maps was accounting for the way that language instruction builds on previous instruction. For example, an intermediate level course might begin with a unit that focuses on a review of novice level standards. However, as the current standards are written, an intermediate level course or instructional material is not required to address the novice standards. Similarly, an intermediate level course instructor may also incorporate advanced level standards at the end of a course to provide differentiation for students, provide extension activities, or to preview the next course in the language series. However, it is not required that those standards be included or addressed in the course. As such, an intermediate level textbook should be evaluated based on the intermediate level standards alone. Therefore, the standards maps include only the standards for one specified proficiency level. If a publisher chooses to submit a single instructional material or program that is designed to be used for multiple proficiency levels, for example, a 2-year online program that provides intermediate and advanced language instruction, that publisher would submit both an intermediate standards map and an advanced standards map. At this time, Cliff and I can answer any questions commissioners have about the maps.
There are no hands raised.
The next paragraph is for the Chair Renteria, our task today.
Oh, all right, perfect. I didn't see my name, sorry. So our task today is to forward this set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to the full commission for approval so that the full commission can recommend the maps to the State Board of Education. Before I call for a motion, do any commissioners have any questions or comments to discuss related to these maps?
You do have one hand. You do have one hand raised.
Perfect. I see Commissioner Munoz. Go ahead.
Now, I know before we take the vote here, I just want to say that I'm really happy to see the dates and how it was structured, because I knew at the previous meeting, the last 2 previous meetings with the committee, that we had some questions regarding how it was going to set up based on the different grade levels. So I just wanted to say it looks really good, and I thank the CDE staff for putting that together.
Thank you for that. I'd also like to add, I too was really impressed with the way it was set up. I can now say that I've been on one of these committees before when we did the science adoption. And similarly, I didn't have too much background in science, but these maps are so fundamental in ensuring that we do our jobs right. So in reading through this set, I really appreciated the proficiency levels. It made it so much easier to follow that as a non-expert, and I always think from that hat, because we want to make sure that at the end of the day, everything that we put out can be used by a new teacher that might be going into world languages and is completely new to everything. So I always read everything that we put out through that mindset, and I really appreciated the way it was just so cohesive and structured. So thank you to our staff for that. This was the one set that I was like, yes, this is all good. So I was excited to review it. Any other comments or questions related to these maps from the commissioners? Okay, seeing no hands. I need a motion from a member of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee to recommend the set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to be used in the 2021 World Languages adoption to the full commission. Okay, I see a hand by Commissioner Gotanda.
Thank you so much. I would like to move that we recommend the set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to be used in the 2021 World Languages adoption to the full commission.
The motion has been made by Commissioner Gotanda. Do I have a second in the motion? I see Commissioner Munoz.
A second.
Okay. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Munoz. Is there any discussion of the motion? Any final comments by the commissioners? I'm looking through. Okay. All right, we will now vote on the motion before the committee. Denise will conduct the roll call vote.
One moment as we determine if there is public comment on the motion. One moment.
Okay.
There is no public comment.
Thank you, Denise.
Denise, will you now conduct the vote on the motion before the committee?
SMC Chair Renteria?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Hernandez? Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes, thank you. Yes.
Commissioner Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai is absent. Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Yay. Thank you, commissioners, for your diligent work on this process. We will now move on to item B, public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comment?
There are no members wishing to make public comment.
All right. That being said, I will now close the World Languages Subject Matter Committee meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Renteria. And also thank you, Aaron Jacks, for that wonderful explanation. It really, really clarified the proficiency levels. Thank you. Our next agenda item 3 is the Arts Subject Matter Committee. At this time, if any member of the public wants to provide public comment on this item, please do so now following procedures described earlier. I now recognize Arts Subject Matter Committee Chair Tonkovich.
I call to order the Arts Subject Matter Committee. The member of the Arts SMC are myself, Vice Chair Murphy Corwin, and Commissioners Astorga Almanza, Commissioner Chapman, Commissioner Costa Hernandez, Commissioner Rustin, and Senator Allen. Today, we also have with us our Administrator Cliff Rudnick and Kyle Petty, our consultant. The first item that requires our action is a recommendation of the evaluation criteria map and content standards maps for the 2021 arts education adoption. The standards maps take the content standards adopted by the California State Board of Education and organize them into a series of tables for convenient use by publishers and instructional material reviewers and content review experts during their review. The evaluation criteria that will be used by the IMRs and CREs are taken from Chapter 10 of the 2020 Arts Education Framework. The maps and the instructions for completing them were sent to you digitally, and copies are available to the public upon request by emailing the IQC mailbox. Cal Petty, the lead consultant from CFIRD on this adoption, will now explain the organization of the maps. Kyle.
Thank you, Commissioner Tonkovich, and good morning. There are a total of 45 standards maps for the arts, 1 per grade level for each of the 5 arts disciplines. There's 1 evaluation criteria map along with the publisher instructions for completing both the standards maps and criteria map. Publishers will complete 1 evaluation criteria map for each program and the standards maps appropriate to the grades and disciplines they are submitting for review. The reviewers then use these completed maps when performing their independent evaluation of the submitted materials. These standards maps are organized by content area discipline standards, by grade level or grade bands, including music. In addition to grade level standards, the music standards include performance level standards for harmonizing instruments, ensemble, composition and theory, and music technology. While a criteria map will provide publishers with a tool to articulate the ways materials and resources meet the requirements of grade level standards, it will not require a separate program submission designed to satisfy the requirements for one or multiple proficiency levels. Cliff and I can answer any questions that commissioners have about the maps at this time.
Kyle, I have a question. As I was looking through them, one thing I really liked was that the standard alone wasn't just cited, but the process with the heading and the description. But I thought I noticed that, and tell me if I'm wrong, are all 4 processes included in each of the standard maps for each discipline?
Yes, to my understanding they are.
Because I thought I saw one. Let me, I can come back because I thought I saw, for example, grade 1 music. Now maybe I don't see connecting under the music standard map for grade 1. Could you take a look at that for me, please?
It's going to take me just a second.
I see it. Never mind. It's at the bottom.
It is there.
Sorry. All good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But I like that part very much, and I was looking for it. Thank you.
Are there any other questions, or does Cliff have anything to clarify with?
I'm not going to add anything, but if there are more questions, I actually have the maps up in front of me so I can address issues.
Commissioner Tonkovich, it's still your agenda item.
You're muted.
Whoops, I forgot to unmute. Sorry. I really like that the 4 processes are included. Thank you. It makes it so much easier to follow those standards. And I appreciate all your work on this, Kyle and Cliff. So thank you. And fellow SMC members, our task today is to forward this set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to the full commission for approval so that the full commission can recommend the maps to the State Board of Education. Before I call for a motion, do any commissioners have any questions or comments to discuss related to these maps? Are there any public comments?
Commissioner Murphy-Corwin has her hand raised.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. Commissioner Murphy-Corwin.
Again, I just wanted to commend the Seaford staff. I thought that these standards, for something that might seemingly be very complex, because of the 5 very, very distinct disciplines that are within the arts framework, I just want to commend you. I think they are excellent and they are easy to follow. Thank you.
Any other commissioners with their hand raised? I seeing none. I need a motion from a member of the Arts Subject Matter Committee to recommend the set of evaluation criteria and standard maps to be used in the 2021 art education adoption to the full commission.
Commissioner Murphy-Corwin has her hand raised.
Commissioner Murphy-Corwin. The motion has been made by Commissioner Murphy-Corwin.
Thank you, Commissioner Tonkovich. I would like to recommend the set of evaluation criteria and standard maps to be used in the 2021 arts education adoption to the full commission.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion?
2 hands raised.
Oh, Commissioner Astorga-Almanza. I didn't see who was first, sorry.
I would like to second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Astorga-Almanza. Is there any discussion of the motion? Any final comments from the commissioners? Is there any public comment on the motion?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. I believe we are ready to vote. Denise will conduct the roll call vote.
SMC Chair Tonkovich?
Yes.
SMC Vice Chair Murphy-Corwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Astorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Reston?
Yes.
Senator Allen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, SMC members. We will now move on to item B, public comment. Are there any members of the public wishing to make public comments?
There are none.
Seeing there's no public comment, I now close the meeting of the Arts Subject Matter Committee meeting and turn the meeting back to IQC Chair Niquez.
Sorry, I was muted myself. Thank you, Commissioner Tonkovich, and thank you, Kyle Petty. I'm not going to stoop to the level that I'm sure a lot of people do and crack a joke about your name and NASCAR, but I can't resist. I'm sorry. But anyway, on a serious note,
That's fine.
I'm sure you get that a million times. But thank you. Very, very informative. At this point, we're scheduled to take a break. However, we're moving quite along at a nice pace here, but I will confer with our executive director, Coates, to see if this would be an appropriate time given the rest of our schedule.
Thank you, Chair Niguez. I think we're making great time, so I think we can continue.
Thank you. Sounds good. So at this point, our next agenda item is 5, where our full committee officially reconvenes. And so with that, our next agenda item is 5A, reports and actions from subcommittees that you just heard. So first, we're going to address the world languages. So we are going to hear first from our world language subject matter chair. As a reminder, before I recognize our chair, we have reviewed the draft, as you well know, for the world languages, instructional materials, adoption, content standards, maps, and evaluation criteria, but we now need to recommend the final edits to the State Board of Education. So at this time, if there is any member of the public who wants to provide public comment on this item, please prepare to do so now by following the procedures that we explained earlier. I now officially recognize World Language Subject Matter Chair Anthea.
Thank you. As chair of the World Languages Subject Matter Committee, I move that the full commission recommend to the State Board of Education the set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to be used in the 2021 World Languages Instructional Materials Adoption.
Thank you. Motion has been made by Subject Matter Chair Anthea. Is there a second? I'm looking over and I see Commissioner Jarvis.
I second the motion.
Thank you. The motion has been seconded by Commissioner Jarvis. So Commissioner Renteria has moved. Commissioner Jarvis has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? I'm looking for raised hands, so please bear with me. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none. Are there any comments from our State Board liaisons? Okay, I see no hands. Are there any public comments on the motion, Denise?
I'm seeing none.
Okay. With that, I'm going to double check one more time. No hands raised. If not, we are ready to vote. Denise, if you would not mind, please conduct a roll call vote.
Chair Niguez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Astorga-Almanza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy-Corwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai is absent. Commissioner Renteria?
Yes.
Commissioner Reston?
Yes.
Commissioner Tonkovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson,
Yes.
Assemblymember Weber,
Yes.
Senator Allen.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Excuse me. Thank you. Next is our arts. We're going to hear from our arts subject matter chair. Before I call on Commissioner Tonkovich officially, as a quick reminder, we have reviewed the draft arts instructional materials adoption content standard maps and evaluation criteria map. And now what we're doing, members of the public, is we are moving to recommend the final edits to the State Board of Education. So at this time, if you would like to provide public comment on this item, please prepare to do so now by following the procedures that we have described earlier. I now officially recognize Arts Language Subject Matter Chair Tonkovich.
As chair of the Arts Subject Matter Committee, I move that the full commission recommend to the State Board of Education the set of evaluation criteria and standards maps to be used in the 2021 Arts Education Instructional Materials Adoption.
Thank you. Is there a second to the motion? Looking over, I see Commissioner Murphy-Corwin.
I second the motion.
Thank you. Commissioner Tonkovich has moved, and Commissioner Murphy-Corwin has seconded the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Seeing no hands, but simultaneously stalling. Okay. Are there any comments from our State Board liaisons? Seeing no hands. Is there any public comment on the motion, Denise?
There is not.
Thank you. I believe we are ready to vote. I am turning it over to you, Denise.
Chair Iniguez?
Yes.
Vice Chair Munoz?
Yes.
Commissioner Andre?
Yes.
Commissioner Storgal-Munza?
Yes.
Commissioner Chapman?
Yes.
Commissioner Costa Hernandez?
Yes.
Commissioner Fairchild?
Yes.
Commissioner Gotanda?
Yes.
Commissioner Jarvis?
Yes.
Commissioner Murphy-Corwin?
Yes.
Commissioner Pantai is absent. Commissioner Renfria?
Yes.
Commissioner Reston?
Yes.
Commissioner Tonkovich?
Yes.
Commissioner Williamson?
Yes.
Assemblymember Weber? Senator Allen?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you, Denise. Our next agenda item is 5B, revision of the mathematics framework for California Public Schools kindergarten through grade 12. This item is an informational item, and we're going to hear from our CDE staff on changes of the schedule of significant events that we referred to earlier that were to our mathematics framework that were approved by the State Board of Education at their May 7th, 2020 meeting. So joining us today are Jonathan Lee, who's the lead education programs consultant for the revision of the mathematics framework, and Constantino Silva, who is the administrator for the curriculum frameworks unit. I now recognize both Jonathan Lee and Constantino Silva.
Good morning. My name is Jonathan Lee, and I'm the Educational Program Consultant with the Curriculum and Frameworks and Instructional Resources Division. I'm here with my manager, Constantino Silva, an administrator in our division. We are here today to share the changes of the schedule of significant events for the mathematics framework and to inquire about your availability to attend the meetings of the Math Curriculum Frameworks Evaluation Criteria Committee, the Math CFCC. In January of this year, the Board of Education approved your recommendation for members of the CFCC, and we successfully completed our first of 6 CFCC meetings earlier scheduled in February. The CDE staff were well into planning for our second meeting in March when the governor issued his executive order to have individuals in California to shelter in place. And the March CFCC meeting was postponed. Subsequently, the April and May CFCC meetings were also postponed. We will now overview the changes the SBE approved to the mathematics framework timeline. They are included in attachment A of this item, which is the State Board of Education meeting item that includes the revised schedule of significant events for the revision of the math framework. Please take a minute to get that document. And first, we want to note the changes to the math CFCC meeting dates. As I stated previously, the March, April, and May meetings were canceled and rescheduled for September, November, and December. The September, November, and December meeting dates are the 23rd and 24th of September, the 3rd and 4th of November, and the 16th and 17th of December. The June and August meetings, the dates have not changed. It should be noted too that the meeting dates are spaced an average of 6.5 weeks apart as opposed to the 4.5 weeks that were in the previous meetings. This is to ensure that the writers and CDE staff will have adequate time to effectively address any issues or edits that may be needed in the draft chapters between the meetings. I'd also like to point out that 95% of the CFCC members are committed to the new dates, and that our writers are amenable to the new meeting dates as well. A final comment about the CFCC meetings. The June meeting will be conducted virtually, and we will continue to monitor the COVID-19 situation and conduct meetings virtually as needed. In addition to the 3 new CFCC meeting dates, all of the milestones following the CFCC meetings have been adjusted. First, the revised timeline. The IQC will review and approve the draft mathematics framework in January of 2021, with the first of 2 public comment periods taking place between February and April of 2021. Next, the IQC and the Math Subject Matter Committee will analyze the recommendations and edits received during the first public comment period in May of 2021 at the IQC meeting. At that same meeting, the IQC will formally act to recommend the draft framework to the State Board of Education while simultaneously approving it for the second 60-day review. The second 60-day review period will now take place in June and July of 2021. After that, we have a placeholder in case the State Board requires the IQC to weigh in on the second round of public comment. This meeting is not mandated. However, we have included it in previous framework adoptions and wanted to have that option available should it be deemed necessary. Finally, in the proposed new timeline, the State Board of Education will receive the draft revised math framework for board action in November of 2021. We will now take any questions that you have about the revised timeline.
Okay. I don't want to interrupt you, Jonathan Lee, but if you want, I can speak to that portion.
Oh, that's all I have for the first.
Okay.
First one.
All right. Thank you. Well, this is what happens, right, when we meet virtually. It's a little bit more difficult. So thank you. Do any commissioners or Board of Education liaisons have any comments, questions, as was just asked? And see no hands. Yes. Yes. Board Member Strauss.
Yeah, let me just say, I know Member Rucker and I feel very, very strongly about supporting the revision of the math framework. We think, for those of you who've been following the framework development, this framework was the first one we adopted after the last recession, and during the subsequent adoptions of different frameworks, we've gotten much we have a much stronger model of chapters and guidance and vignettes and snapshots that help guide the framework. Also, the people that are on the CFCC were vetted through CDE who have experience with the old framework and realize what things we need to do to update it. So obviously, no one really wanted this to slow down, and the pandemic changed the timeline, but we feel very, very strongly that an updated framework is really important. And I know at the first CFCC member record said there was a full house of people who really are committed to this process of updating the math framework. So I appreciate the department updating and revising the timeline, and I appreciate those who will work in this process to make sure the voice of the field and the practitioner helps to inform going forward, so that this framework really does help support continued implementation of our California math standards. Thanks.
Thank you, Board Member Strauss. Because of the changes in the timeline that were just explained, Commissioners, please know that we're seeking commitments from the Math Subject Matter Committee members to attend each of the CFCC meetings based on the revised, I want to stress revised schedule. As Board Member Strauss just indicated, we initially had meetings scheduled with 2 commissioners to attend each meeting and would like to keep that number if possible. In a minute, I'm going to ask Jonathan and or Constantino to read the current list of the Mathematics Subject Matter Committee chairs scheduled to attend the CFCC meetings, and ask that you then either confirm your ability to attend the original meetings or to get commitments from commissioners for the newly scheduled meetings as needed. Please note, before I turn it over, that the June meeting, as was stated by Jonathan Lee, is expected, but it is not a certainty, to be a virtual meeting, and others may be held virtually depending on how the events go with our pandemic. So at this point, I officially call on Jonathan Lee and Constantino Silva to walk us through which commissioners are scheduled to participate in the CFCC meetings.
Thank you. Initially, we had Commissioners Williamson and Munoz scheduled for the June meeting, and Commissioners Fairchild and Gotanda for the August meeting. First, I would like to know if you two are still available for those dates.
Hi, this is Commissioner Munoz. I'm good to go.
Thank you.
This is Commissioner Williamson. I will actually have to reschedule the June meeting. I'm hoping to help out in the August.
Okay, thank you. So we will need one more commissioner for the June meeting.
We have a hand raised, Jonathan. Well, actually, we have 2, so I'm going to recognize Commissioner Gotanda first.
Can we repeat the June date one more time?
The June date is 24 and 25.
And we have another hand raised, Commissioner Chapman. Commissioner Chapman.
I'm available in the June dates if the other commissioners are unavailable.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Chapman. We will put you down for the June date along with Commissioner Munoz. Next, we originally had Commissioners Fairchild.
I'm so sorry to cut you off, Jonathan. I'm not trying to be rude, but again, during this virtual meeting, it's a little difficult. I do see one hand raised before we move on. Commissioner Gotanda.
I'm so sorry. I might actually be cutting Jonathan off. So I'm good for the August date.
That's great. Thank you.
And I'm good for the August date. This is Commissioner Fairchild.
Commissioner Fairchild.
Okay, thank you. So next we will need to have 2 commissioners for the the September meeting. And the dates for September are September 23rd and 24th.
You have 2 hands raised. The first one was or is Commissioner Renteria.
Yes, I'm available for the September one.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Renteria.
And the next hand up is Commissioner Williamson.
Hi, I can also do the September dates.
Thank you, Commissioner. Next, we need two for the November 3rd and 4th meeting. And I want to note that the 3rd and 4th is a Tuesday, Wednesday instead of our traditional Wednesday, Thursday meeting.
The first hand up was Commissioner Fairchild. Commissioner Fairchild. Can't hear you.
I apologize. I'm available for those dates.
Thank you, Commissioner.
For November.
Okay, next hand up in order was Commissioner Gotanda.
I can do the November 3rd and 4th date.
Thank you, Commissioner. And last, oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry, John. I just want to make sure I'm not missing anything here because we have one more hand raised. Commissioner Munoz. Commissioner Munoz?
I was waiting for December.
Okay, sorry. Saw your hand raised.
Oh.
Turn it back over to you, Jonathan.
Okay, and the last meeting is the December 16th and 17th meeting, and we're looking again for two more commissioners.
And now, Commissioner Munoz.
I'm available.
Thank you, Commissioner Munoz.
And one more hand is up, Commissioner Chapman.
I am also available in December.
Thank you, Commissioner Chapman. So I will read the commissioners who are scheduled. So for June, we have Commissioner Chapman and Munoz. For August, we have Commissioners Fairchild and Gotanda. For the September meeting, we have Commissioners Renteria and Williamson. For the November meeting, we have Commissioners Fairchild and Gotanda. And for the December meeting, we have Commissioners Munoz and Chapman. Thank you very much, Commissioners, for your willingness to help us conduct this very important work. And that is that's all that I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan and Constantino, for your work on that and walking us through the revised dates. Our next item is item 5C, which is general public comment. And so at this point, I want to ask Denise if we have any comments that are not included in the agenda item, on matters rather, not included in the agenda item.
We do have two comments that were emailed into the IQC mailbox. These have been emailed to the Commission, but I will also read them, and that will also give time to people who may want to make public comment to log in and do so. So the first public comment is from
Denise, I'm sorry, before you read, can we also just state that there is a 2-minute time period, and so that also is in effect as Denise reads the public comment that were submitted written in a written format. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Shanine. Yes. The first public comment is from Bruce Umstead, Director of Statewide Engagement at the IMS Global Learning Consortium. Dear Committee, we are writing to encourage the State of California, when reviewing, revising, and publishing the revision to the mathematics framework for California public schools, kindergarten through grade 12, to consider using the Competency and Academic Standards Exchange CASE standard. CASE is one of a family of IMS Global Learning Consortium's education data interoperability standards. IMS Global is the leading education data standards organization with more than 550 K-12 higher education institutions and supplier members worldwide. What's wrong with the PDF? While relatively secure and copyrightable, shareable, and printable, PDFs are not interoperable, requiring rekeying by districts and teachers when entering the standards into their data systems and learning platforms. This cut and paste approach is time-consuming and prone to inaccuracy. To make PDF-based standards work, California districts and their educational technology providers have relied on commercial services that scrape the standards from the official documents and resell California content through proprietary databases. All the transparency of IQC's review process is lost in the process. A digital first response to COVID-19 requires a different approach to authoring, revising, and publishing California academic standards. CASE is a dynamic, database-driven format that makes it easy to display the standards digitally, as well as align instructional materials in an accurate and transparent fashion. Here's an image of the existing California mathematics standard available through CASE Network, a standards distribution service IMS Global provides to anyone without cost or membership. By publishing the revised mathematics standards in CASE format, California will join Alabama, Florida, Georgia, Illinois, Montana, and Texas in enhancing the accuracy and transparency of every education function that relies on state standards, because every item in the revised framework is hyperlinked back to the original California CASE documents. Thank you. The next public comment is from the Education Trust West, Californians Together, SEAL, Loyola Marymount University School of Education, Center for Equity for English Learners, Advancement Project, CABE, PICE, Just Equations, and the Partnership for Los Angeles Schools. Dear Instructional Quality Commission members, as leaders of 9 of California's educational advocacy organizations, we thank you for your commitment to advancing high-quality instructional guidance and resources for California students. We are writing to you about the 2021 revision of the Mathematics Framework for California Public Schools Kindergarten through Grade 12 Mathematics Framework. We understand that the IQC has provided Mathematics Framework guidelines to direct the work of the Mathematics Curriculum Framework and Evaluation Criteria Committee, CFCC. We commend the references to equity and access within the guidelines, specifically the following. 1, in general, the revised California Mathematics Framework for Public Schools, Kindergarten through Grade 12 Mathematics Framework shall provide guidance to help ensure equitable access to high-quality mathematics instruction for all elementary, middle, and high school students in California. And 2, additionally, the revised mathematics framework shall be explicit in its provision of C, guidance ensuring access and equity, including research related to universal design for learning, G, strategies related to those included in the California Department of Education resources, including the English Learner Roadmap, the English Language Arts English Language Development Framework, the California English Language Development Standards, and Educating for Global Competency to support guidance and usability of the mathematics framework. 3, the CFCC shall develop chapters on the instructional cycles for grade level mathematics. These chapters should support planning for instruction and assessment to ensure equitable access and opportunity for all students. They shall provide A, guidance for planning instruction that includes guidelines to support the integration of the principles of universal design for learning in first instruction for all students, including multiple means of representation, giving learners various ways of acquiring information and knowledge, multiple means of expression, providing learners alternatives for demonstrating what they know, and multiple means of engagement.
Time.
I do not see any other public comment.
Thank you. Excuse me. So thank you for the public comment to those that have submitted it. At this point, it is time for our last official agenda item, which is 5D.
Chair Iniguez, I'm
Yes,
sorry,
yes.
there is one person with their hand raised.
No problem. Thank you.
Manuel Buenrostro, I'm allowing you to talk. I'm unmuting you now. Please begin.
Good evening. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Good. Hi, my name is Manuel Buenrostro, and I want to thank all of you for still holding this meetings during this time. I'm here representing Californians Together as their policy associate. And I just want to thank you for your work and commitment to equity and access for all students. As a statewide advocacy coalition focused around the goal of better educating California's 1.2 million English learners, we think that the mathematics framework revisions offer a wonderful opportunity to continue to expand access and equity for English learners and all students across California. As you see in the letter that we submitted along with 8 other organizations, one of our primary recommendations for the math framework in that letter is to include a chapter specific to access and equity and to ensure that assets-oriented approaches are incorporated throughout the framework. This is of particular importance for English learners as strategies that support math instruction within multilingual programs and those that promote the use of students' home languages can support the learning of math concepts. We thank each and every one of you for your commitment to students And we hope that the Math CFCC committee and the IQC considers our recommendations as the meetings go ahead in the coming year. Thank you.
Thank you. I want to check with Denise here to see if there are any additional public comments that have come in.
There is another. Rachel Ruffalo, I'm allowing you to speak now, and I am unmuting you. Please begin. You can now begin, Rachel.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Instructional Quality Commissioners and Department of Education staff members. My name is Rachel Ruffalo, and I serve as the Director of Educator Engagement for Education Trust West. For nearly 20 years, Ed Trust West has advocated for educational justice.
Rachel, we can't hear you.
Shall I start over?
Please do.
And okay. Okay. Thank you, Instructional Quality Commissioners.
Rachel, you've cut out again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can you hear us?
And the high academic achievement of all California students, pre-K through college, particularly students of color, those living in poverty, and English learners. We see the revision of the math framework to be an important opportunity to increase equitable access to high-quality math instruction and programs. As you read in our letter, Ed Trust West submitted in partnership with 8 other education advocacy orgs. One of our primary recommendations is for the math framework to include a chapter specific to access and equity. While we agree that the equity principles and practices should be included in every chapter, we recommend that equity principles be integrated throughout the framework and that there be a chapter dedicated to access and equity. Equity considerations go beyond pedagogy. In addition to instructional considerations, practitioners also need guidance in how to develop and implement equitable math programs and structures to facilitate equitable instruction. The majority of California's current frameworks already have a chapter on access and equity. Many practitioners reference this chapter to find guidance on how to design their classroom instruction and their school or district programs to meet the learning needs of their diverse learners. We believe that the IQC, CDE, and Ed Trust West all share the same goal of ensuring access and equity for all of our students. For this reason, we urge you to provide guidance to the Math Framework Committee to ensure that equity does not get lost in the revision process, but rather is centered by being both integrated throughout the framework and having a dedicated chapter. We look forward to continuing to engage in the math revision process by attending the meetings of the CFCC and by providing public comment to support the effective inclusion of principles and practices of equity to advance math access and equity. Thank you.
Thank you. I do not see any further public comment.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, members of the public, for your public comments. As you know, your comments are important as they help guide our work here. With that, as I was saying earlier, before I get to the next agenda item, I see one hand raised from one of our commissioners, and I'm going to call on Commissioner Chapman here in a second. I do ask, though, Commissioner Chapman, if this is about one of our colleagues in particular, please note that you will certainly have a chance here in a minute to address that. So I now officially recognize you.
I was wondering if it was appropriate for me to comment on the public comments we've received at this time.
We typically do not comment on public comment, Commissioner.
Thank you.
Thank you. So our last official agenda item is 5D, which is entitled Commissioner Acknowledgments. And today, as was mentioned by Board Member Rucker earlier, is Commissioner Murphy Corwin's last meeting, as her term on the IQC will end on June 6th. It is an IQC tradition to acknowledge and thank commissioners who term out in person. However, I'm going to break with tradition today and make an official motion to extend her term for another 10 years. Does anyone second that? Yes, I see everyone's hands raised, Commissioner Murphy-Corwin. So you are officially on for the next 10 years. Congratulations. No, obviously I'm kidding. We're going to miss you very much. And I do want to say to everyone who's attending now, you will have a chance in a minute to say any parting words that you would like to say. But given our virtual format, if you don't mind, I'm going to start so that I can then look for the hands that are raised. I do want to say, Commissioner Corwin, that I do hope we have a chance to celebrate your tenure in person in the future. And I do also want to say that you and I began our tenure roughly at the same time. And if you know me, I don't say anything I don't mean. And I want to say to you, I have a great deal of respect for you, not only because of your knowledge of curriculum and instruction, but also because of your humility, intelligence, professionalism, diplomacy, and integrity. You have contributed tremendously to the development of the curriculum frameworks, and you will be missed, especially when we get together. And so with that, I want to make sure that everyone else has a chance to speak. And so I will now look for official hands. Please don't worry, you will have a chance. I'm just going to go in the order that I see here. And the first hand that I saw raised was Board Member Strauss.
Melanie, I just have to say your voice as an experienced school site leader was invaluable to the process. And I think not only have you had experience in leading and implementing instruction, but understand what it takes for implementation. So your voice on this commission has been invaluable. Look what we've done in the 4 years that you've been on the commission. And I do believe that we work very hard as state board members to make sure that we have a committee that represents different content areas, and also leadership and implementation at the site and district level. And so your role, Melanie, I can't tell you enough about how important it was and how your leadership as a principal actually helped in our team building and our collaboration as we all work together. And so I just want to thank you in this chapter, the time that you gave to all of these processes, public comments, helping us sift through and getting our frameworks to where they are so that they could be adopted. And I just would say that I know we have all just so much enjoyed working with you, and your legacy will live on for your grandkids and the rest of our kids. So thank you very, very much, Melanie.
Thank you. Before I call the next person, I want to make sure I have enough tissue with me here. What do you think? Is that enough? So the next hand that was raised is Board Member Rucker.
Oh, okay. I started this out at the beginning of this meeting just to recognize you and to tell you how, and to make sure it was important that with every action we took today, we were recognizing this is going to be the last time we do this with Commissioner Murphy-Corwin on the commission. This is both a happy time and a sad time. This is also probably the most important moment in all of our lives because we probably are going to be affected by what happened with this pandemic for a very long time. I'm touched by a commercial I saw the other day. There was this woman who was born during the 1920 pandemic. There are very few people who are left in the world who remember what happened during those times. And she assured us by her story that this is something we will get through and that we will go through together. And when I saw her, I was reminded almost immediately of Commissioner Murphy-Corwin, not because she was a woman, but because she spoke with the same strength of character that I'm reminded of whenever I think about and I listen to Commissioner Murphy-Corwin. She has a demeanor, she has a leadership style, she has a personality that's both magnetic, engaging, but also at the same time unifying. And I appreciate all of the work that she's done, but I also appreciate knowing and seeing her at every single meeting we've attended. And so I will miss that. I will miss her. I will miss her candor. I will miss her kindness, but I will miss her peaceful, calm demeanor that lets us know, yes, this is important. Yes, this is vital. And yes, it is more important than who we are. So let's keep our focus on what is central to the work that we need to do. And I appreciate that modesty and that humility so much, and so frequently how it was displayed and how it kept us all pulled together. I'm so sorry we won't have a moment to celebrate you over a dinner or over even a cup of coffee together. But I just want you to know I'm raising my hand to you right now. I'm sipping a cup of coffee in your honor, and I will always remember what you've done for this commission, and I do not have all the words to thank you.
Thank you for those eloquent words. Going down the list here, next is Commissioner Tonkovich.
Well, thank you. So much has been said. This comes from the heart. I don't want to weep. I feel like I'm going to weep. It's been such really an honor and pleasure to serve with Commissioner Murphy-Corwin. And on both the 4 years of the IQC and the Arts MFC, we've attended standard meetings together and framework meetings together. We stayed at the same inn and met for breakfast. And all the attributes for knowledge, wisdom, or experience, she's contributed so much. It's been in value. And this is what I have to say. I'm not going to say goodbye. I'm going to say see you later.
Thank you. Next, I see Commissioner Williamson.
Thank you so much. I just want to thank you, Commissioner Murphy-Corwin. Thank you so much for welcoming me in when I came in last year. I haven't been with you quite as long, but everything that has been said is so apparent. You've made me feel welcome. You were one of the first to come in and introduce yourself and show me the ropes. And you are just an amazing role model. And I can only hope that I can live up to what you have given us as an example. Thank you so much, and may the best be yet to come.
Thank you. Going down the list, Commissioner Munoz.
Wow. This is heartbreaking for me too. Commissioner Murphy-Corwin, you have led a lot of, you've mentored me personally. I haven't expressed it a lot of times. Your words of wisdom at the meetings, at our social gatherings, are always at a high standard. You speak quietly, but you carry a loud voice on behalf of all the children of California who've been mentored, you've looked at into the different curriculum activities that you've been a member of through IQC. I thank you so much. I thank you for your kindness, your patience, your integrity, your trustworthiness. And I welcome you now, I guess, into the status of emeritus. And we will definitely be meeting again in some way down in the future. So best of luck to you. And well spent time with your grandchildren. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Fairchild?
I just wanted to, again, duplicate everything everybody said, but I just want to express to you how I think you are a beautiful human being. And more than anything, I think you make that show. Everybody said how you make people feel special and welcome. And when you're speaking with them, you speak directly to them and you make them feel important. And that just goes to show the integrity of who you are as a human being. And for that, I am so grateful that our paths have crossed and you have given me that. So thank you.
Here, here. Commissioner Alma Delia Renteria. Commissioner Renteria.
Thank you. I also just want to echo what my colleagues are saying, but I want to personally also say thank you. When I first got on the commission 3 years ago, you were my mentor, and you really took it to another level in terms of helping me just figure out how it works and giving me sound advice. And I know that one of the first things I learned about you was your love for technology. And immediately I knew, like, this is the one I'm going to follow the entire time. And I did. I hope you didn't feel like I was stalking you. But please know that You have our utmost respect for a reason. Working with you has been such a privilege for all of us. And on a personal level, I'm really going to miss going through an adoptions without you, because I really liked having dinner and talking about our day at the end of the day, and just being able to feel human after a day of being in a room locked and reading all day. So thank you for making us all feel so special, and for just really taking the time to get to know us on a personal level, and being so willing to provide advice about just different things you had already experienced. And I know that that's hard to come by. So it was really, really appreciated. And I wish you the best. I know you're going to have to come back to celebrate you, because we still have to celebrate you. And you will be receiving a little gift on our behalf at your home. So don't feel like I've been stalking you or anything. But we wanted to make sure that you knew how much we were going to miss you.
Thank you. And in a moment here, I'm going to ask Commissioner Murphy-Corwin if there's anything that she would like to say, but I want to stall a little bit here. And as I'm stalling, I do want to say, if there were an IQC Hall of Fame, like Baseball Hall of Fame, he would certainly be on that. And so, seeing no other hands, I am now officially turning it over to you, Commissioner Murphy-Corwin.
Well, I just hope I can get through a few words without completely falling apart. First of all, I just want to say my heart is full. I began my professional career way back, I think quite possibly way before many of you were even born. I began teaching in 1968. And let me tell you, it's been quite a career. 4 years ago in May, I was invited to come to the IQC meeting, even though officially I wasn't going to begin until June. At that meeting, it was quite eye-opening for me. It was in the midst of the revisions to the history social science framework. And we had at that particular meeting over 550 public comments given from people who not necessarily were agreeing even with one another as to what should be revised and how it should be revised. I knew right then that I was going to be in for a very, very challenging and unique experience. And it has never let me down these 4 years, even though it has gone by, flown by. And I can say that overall, yes, it's been challenging, but it's also been a tremendous learning experience. It's been intellectually stimulating, and above all, so rewarding in not only getting to know all of you, but also in the exceptional work that we've been able to accomplish over those 4 years. I just want to say that the commissioners, the State Board of Education members, the elected officials, and above all, the CFERD and CDE staff, you are. I've known a lot of people in my life, and I've worked with a lot of people, and I've worked in a lot of states, and I've had a lot of experiences. You are truly remarkable people. And your continued and consistent positive focus on the children of this state and of this country and of the world, there's no one who is better than any of you. And I just want, there is one quote that I would like to read. I can't take credit for it. It was written a long time ago, even before I was born, believe it or not, by John Quincy Adams. And this is from my heart, and this, I think, reflects all of you. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. And I can say you are all leaders. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for allowing me, giving me this privilege and honor of being with you these 4 years. And I thank you.
I think I speak on behalf of the entire commission here. Thank you. And I do want to call on Executive Director Coates.
Thank you. I just want to also extend my thanks, Commissioner Murphy-Corin, for your great contribution to the IQC, to the work of the state of California. And yes, we have agreed that you will be recognized at an in-person meeting of the IQC. We do have a certificate waiting for you that to acknowledge all of your work. And just for the record, I wanted to provide some scope around what you've been a part of and what you've greatly contributed to in your strong, steady way. So you were a part of the 2017 History, Social Science Instructional Materials Adoption, the 2018 Science Instructional Materials Adoption, the 2018 Computer Science Standards, the 2019 California Art Standards, the 2019 World Languages Standards, the 2019 Health Education Framework, and our current projects, which are the 2020 California Arts Framework and the World Languages Framework, which will be going to the State Board in July. So again, I just wanted to provide some context to what you've done and provided for the IQC, and thank you very much.
How do I transition here? It's very difficult, but I do want to remind our commissioners that we hope to see you again in person, and we are all looking forward to that. And as was mentioned earlier, this is not the end, and I'm at a loss for words as to how to transition to the end of the meeting, so please don't take this personally, but we have to officially adjourn the meeting. And thank you to everyone. Thank you to everyone listening at home. And I am now going to officially, well, actually, let me check one more time. Executive Director Coates, is there anything else that we should address that I may have missed before I officially adjourn?
There is no other business before the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. So with that, I officially adjourn our Instructional Quality Commission for today. And thank you, everyone.
Thank you.